Welcome to a very windy, very bright, very squinty-eyed episode of STS. Joined as always with my good friend here, Tom Coppola. I'm Renee Scavington, and today we're going to have some conversations about what is going on with the world of parkour as we know it.
Indeed.
Before we get into that, there's a couple of things happening right now that we just want to touch on. So one is, we talked last week about Beast Coast coming up, and we're both actually going officially as of yesterday. We got our tickets, and we will be there. We will see you at Beast.
Indeed. That's all.
That's a good contribution.
I got it.
All right. Next, the Origin Spring Classic, which is going to be the first in the series of competitions that can qualify you for the NAPC, or you could just do it for fun. The deadline for registration is May 7th. I totally just made that up.
You just made that up right now?
Okay. I think that was the date that I saw on the calendar. So
all right. I'm going to write it down just in case.
May 7th, deadline to sign up for that competition.
The actual competition is May 21st.
Yes.
So.
Indeed.
Hey, you learning.
Okay. We'll start with a light topic today. It's a light little snack topic.
Snacker.
We got that new show, Jump and Travel. We don't have it. That doesn't sound right. There is the new show, Jump and Travel, by some guys who do not speak English.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a great show, I thought. I made you watch it the other day at my house.
Yeah, it was cool.
What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. My biggest criticism is that it's not in English. I mean, they have the subtitles there, and it seems like it. You know, they're still going to get somewhat of a following, but I think English is like the primary language. I mean, like even in the actual show, they were talking to some guys from.
Because it's the common language.
Yeah,
is English.
They were talking in English because it was their only common language, the only way they can communicate. So. But I mean, they're obviously more proficient at their own language. Do you know where they're from?
I think they're Czech.
Okay.
But
yeah. Never
but
mind.
I shouldn't have said anything.
You're the last person I should be
wrong.
asking.
I don't know where anything is.
Where is the Czech Republic? I don't know. Somewhere in France?
It's funny that you say that we're talking about English and everything, but we also found that Russian YouTube channel that has a crazy amount of views
really
for tutorials and stuff, and we're like, never heard of this guy before. I'm gonna have to post a link for that because I've never heard of this guy before, and it's all in Russian, so we can't really appreciate it. But he gets like
80,000 views.
Yeah, he gets like Jesse the Flare views.
At 80,000 views, and it's like there's no, and I don't even think there's subtitles, like in English subtitles. So he's purely reaching whatever native country he's from. He sounded Russian, but it might have been like Polish.
Yeah,
or
he does speak some
Ukrainian
English.
or something,
He does speak some English, like lazy, and stop lazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
you learned that a sit turn or a Italian job, whatever, is actually a stop lazy.
Stop lazy, because you start a lazy, but then you stop.
Lazy, stop lazy.
Yeah, that was cool. Because you could see the commonality of like the parkour technique, and even though it's not like even though we might call it like a sit turn or Tempest might call it an Italian job, like we understand what he's talking about because he says stop lazy.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah. I didn't know that there was such a following in. I mean, obviously.
It's a big country, man.
Yeah. Well,
if it is Russian.
If it is Russian,
I'm pretty sure it was Russian.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone will correct us on that as well too.
That's all right.
So we'll just get all the languages and countries wrong.
Yeah.
So the Jump and Travel show, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that because we watched it actually back to back with the new store episodes.
Yeah.
And I was finding that I enjoy the Jump and Travel show more than the latest store series because there's downbeats. You know, it has a nice flow to it. It feels like it could even be, for my taste, it could even be a longer show. Because it follows all the things that you need to have for a travel show. They're eating food, they're giving you directions for stuff. It's just, I feel like the format is just perfect in the right direction where they need to go.
Well, I think what you said was really described it best when you said remember how awesome the Tunisia video was, the store to Tunisia video, like, and then we're watching the Parkour in the Holy Land, and it just feels so rushed and fast paced, like you can't keep up, and like they're trying to tell a story at the same time as they're just like throwing action at you. It's just like it seems like it's too much at like all at the same time. So it was definitely like my least favorite store videos that I've seen in a while. Even like I like the roof culture video even more than that, because it wasn't pretending to try to tell a story. It was just like action, action, action. But this one was like trying to do both, and it lost me on that. The third episode, was that the Parkour on Mars one?
Yes.
That one was really cool because of where they were doing their stuff, and they were doing some cool stuff. But the first two episodes I really struggled getting through. And like you said, the Parkour Travel Show, it really like had a nice pace to it. Like I can watch it and like chill. I could take a bite of my sandwich and not feel like I missed something. I don't think I was eating a sandwich. Sushi. That's what we were eating, sushi.
That's the thing. I was like, I can have a bite of my food. I can, and still, because it's a nice paced show. So definitely check out Jump and Travel. I hope they keep doing them. We were kind of talking about the likelihood of that because, money.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to afford to be able to travel and then produce those, like spend their time producing that film. I don't know how much that would end up costing, but it's definitely, I mean, they're already like in Europe, so it should be easier to travel, but
well, the first episode is Bangkok too.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be hard to see, or it's going to be hard to keep that up if if they're going to try. But maybe they can get sponsors or something, right? That's sort of the next
likelihood. Yeah,
the next step in the evolution of the parkour industry is sponsorships, right?
Sponsorships over crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's a great segue.
Like that one?
I love it.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
It
would have been even better if I didn't ruin it just now.
That's a funny thing with this show and with a lot of things in parkour right now is the real solutions is get your following and then contact companies that have money and can sponsor your because they want to get in with that following, right? And if it's a good fit, then there you go. That's the ultimate way to get paid for a lot of these things. Like, how do you think TV shows make money? The commercials that you watch in between them on the stations, right? So, but right now we are in the age of crowdfunding.
The age of crowdfunding.
There are quite a few projects right now that are trying to basically rely on crowdfunding to get done. I believe there's actually 2 or 3 gyms right now trying to get back up and running or up and running for the first time with crowdfunding. Just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think they're banking on the success of previously funded crowdfunding projects.
Okay. Like which ones?
Like the Apex one.
Right.
Like Tempest, or not Tempest. It was the Off the Edge tour.
Off the Edge tour did Kickstarter. Yeah.
They did a Kickstarter. We did a Kickstarter for NAPC one year. I think there's been like a number of parkour gyms that have successfully done the crowdfunding thing. And so I think other people are looking to that and thinking, oh, if it worked for them, it's gonna work for us because people made their dream happen. We're gonna be able to make our dream happen by getting money from them, right? So it's hard to blame them because it's hard to blame them for sort of just riding that wave because you see opportunity and you want to try to pursue it.
Yeah, maybe they're not aware of other options, but I do think it is an issue though, particularly for gyms. I remember actually with the Apex one, I actually donated to that one just because at the time I can't remember why exactly. I don't know if well they're a proven like it wasn't so much like we need the money to make this happen as they were trying to push it to the next one, and I feel like with a lot of other bigger parkour organizations. I think some of the reasoning is for me in that instance was, let's help each other out, right? And they've sent athletes out here for NAPC, and they've supported us in that way and stuff. So I think that's why I did that one. But there's a couple gyms where it's like,
and if they're a proven, like you said, they're a proven brand already that has been successful in the past. So you're not gonna give your money to something that like you're unsure of if it's gonna be successful. Like that they have their shit together. So you're gonna that's one of the biggest reasons why you would want to even give money to a Kickstarter or something like that, is to know that whatever your money is going towards is actually going to be something that will largely be successful.
and I think that's the main issue, is that we have, if you're trying to start a gym and you don't have a following or anything, and you get all this money to open up your gym, how is the gym going to be successful? Particularly if people that aren't from your city are donating to it. Yeah. That aren't from your area are donating to it. It's a nice thought, I suppose, to say, oh, we're all in parkour together, let's all help each other out. But no, really, I don't know so and so from from wherever. It's are you going to run a successful business? Is this thing going to tank after a couple years after you've built it out? So what we did with Origins was, when we needed money right away to pay rent, is we sold year passes. And I just reached out to the existing parkour community, and we sold a bunch of year passes, and people were happy to get into that at a really low rate. It was like super low rate the first year.
It was, it makes sense to build a parkour gym where there's an existing parkour community, and if there isn't, then you need to be fronting the money yourself.
Or making a business. Like if you're doing classes and things that aren't exactly building so much of a community, but you have a clientele, then pre-sale those clientele or save money the natural, like, organic way to get your project started. Don't go into crowdfunding. The other problem too is crowdfunding through Indiegogo.
Oh yeah.
Because people gotta be careful using Indiegogo, because it's not an all or nothing campaign. Like if you give to Indiegogo and the project doesn't happen, that person just gets your money.
Yeah. Unless they want to be nice and try to refund it. But who knows if that even,
Sure,
I don't even know how easy that is to do. Yeah, I actually straight up, I don't give any money to any Indiegogo. I've done Kickstarter a few times. I've donated to a few different Kickstarter projects, but I've never donated to Indiegogo because it's sketchy, man. It's sketchy.
So I think some advice for people wanting to use Kickstarter is or wanting to use crowdfunding is maybe use Kickstarter, because it's all or nothing. So people are going to have a little bit more faith in it, and give away stuff for less. I see like there's some ridiculously priced perks, I guess, on some of these campaigns I've seen recently. So if you're trying to get money from people, make your perks cheap, because eventually you're going to have to sacrifice, right? If you can't sacrifice, you're not going to get the project done. Anything else?
Well, it's just like related to gyms. You kind of brought this to my attention recently, but Freedom in Motion is closing.
Yeah, and so they have a Indiegogo up.
Oh, okay.
They're one of them.
So that's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of
I
the
didn't even know that.
Indiegogos.
Like that's really unfortunate, because they seem to have a really nice gym. Yeah. But I guess like something happened with their landlord, and they're like selling the place or something.
Yeah. So what post Jimmy made was Jimmy Davidson, is that they're closing down because the property is being sold to another company or a higher bidder or something, which happens. That is the world.
Is the world. That's interesting. Yeah, I know. Like Parkour Visions has to get out of their space, and like
they announced it publicly like 2 days ago.
Oh, did they? I didn't even know that. How am I missing out?
So
on
we're
this?
not probably not subscribed to the newsletter.
Oh, okay.
I think Sid actually ran over to me. Oh, we got Sid. We got Sid back.
We got Sid back.
We should have started with that.
That's
Dang
what
it.
we should have started with.
Yeah, Sid came out to Vancouver this weekend. It was great. We trained. Apparently he had pretty much no issues getting across the border this time, which is really weird. They pulled
he was
him
still
in.
flagged, right?
He's flagged, so they pulled him in, but apparently there's nothing.
Apparently the border officer that like pulled him, that basically rejected him last time, didn't make clear notes or didn't have notes, or like made really confusing notes about like why he was being sent back to the U.S. And so like the people that dealt with him this time were like, this doesn't make any sense. You're good to go. So
It didn't make any sense.
It really
It
didn't
didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why a kid can't cross the border to say, hey, I'm gonna go travel and train and maybe shoot some Instagram clips or videos or stuff with my buddies. Yeah. Ridiculous.
Anyway, that was awesome. We had Sid for a couple days here.
Anyway, anything else on the issue of crowdfunding? You just brought up Parkour Visions. I don't think they're going to do any crowdfunding.
No. Well, they have
good business practices.
Yeah, they have a really strong. They have really strong like clientele, I think.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Yeah. So as long as they can find a space, they'll be fine. But I think that's what the biggest problem they're having right now is finding a space for them to move into. Their current space is pretty cool. It's unfortunate they have to leave, but
Before we drop this, I just want to say I'm not trying to poo-poo any of these projects too much. We mentioned one of them that's a gym basically trying to go through crowdfunding. It's just I think people have to realize the reality of what they're asking people to contribute to and what's in it for them, and if it is actually going to be successful that way. Like I said, if you're asking for money from people that are going to have nothing to do with your project or your business,
well the other thing was too, I think the more successful ones that happened in the past, it was before there was like a saturation of it. It was kind of like, oh, like here's this new thing called crowdfunding that you can do, and like you can help us build our thing, right?
It's also a way of generating pre-sale. Like I feel like Apex, they didn't need to do it. They were using it to generate pre-sale for their new gym.
Yeah.
Right, because they're going to be closed for business for a while and say, hey, we need some money in our pockets. And they did things like if you they have a relatively expensive certification, and if you contributed, then you got a certification, you got classes, you get all these things, and the certification actually helps people that aren't from Colorado, that aren't going to be going to the gym. As well, okay, you pay and then that goes towards the gym, but you also get to do the certification that they have. So yeah, I wasn't mad at that one.
Yeah, and the Off the Edge tour, they were like basically trying to do.
They were selling tickets.
They were using Kickstarter as a way to sell tickets, and it's actually really kind of unfortunate that like we kind of ran into the same issue with our NAPC live stream campaign, where we were getting people donating like $50, but we wanted a bunch of people to donate 10.
Yeah. We wanted 600 people to donate 10 or $5 or $10,
not people like paying $50, $100, like to because they wanted 50 because they wanted to make the project happen. And we really appreciated those people, but
yeah, it was super touching and everything, but it wasn't our goal from the start.
Yeah, we wanted people just to basically like pay to watch a live stream, like it's basically like a super cheap pay-per-view, the first one ever in the parkour world, and we accomplished our goal. We got the live stream and it worked somewhat, but yeah, it was. We were trying to sell something basically using Kickstarter. So I think
that's the thing with Kickstarter is it's useful because it puts pressure on the consumer, saying we need your help, we appreciate you, da da da. So yeah, it's just an avenue where you can sell something, but it has a time limit and all these things. So we could be trying to sell a T-shirt and put it up on Kickstarter and say, oh, if we don't sell 500 of these and don't make this amount of money, we're not going to be able to sell this T-shirt, and we know you guys really want them, so make sure and then maybe some people give extra, and that is the nature of it. It's basically like tipping almost. But
well, it's like there's some companies that have like restaurants or whatever, where they have days where it's like pay what you can, and then some people pay more, and then some people like don't pay at all, and then some people pay the recommended price, but it ends up being like about the same, like overall, like at the end of the day, because there are the people that are like, oh well, like I got some extra cash, like I'll throw you some more money because like I know somebody else probably can't afford it, and it actually is really good business because it's good marketing. You know, they get covered in like newspapers and like media, and then like they still make the same amount of money basically. So yeah, it's a really cool concept, but it's how the world works. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool how the world works. I like the world. Yeah. Anyway,
How are we doing for time right now?
we got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so before we started recording here, we were talking about topics, and we kind of just we wanted to talk about jump and travel, we want to talk about crowdfunding a bit. But a lot of the parkour world is on Facebook, is on social media.
Yep.
And there's one kind of topic that came out of someone commenting this week that I want to talk about, but we thought maybe this could be like a weekly thing, but we don't want to be really tied down to it.
Yeah.
But comment of the week or comments of the month.
Status
Actually status
of the
update
week.
of the week goes to.
We just made that up, by the way. Go ahead.
Good. Goes to Gareth. Gareth.
Congratulations, Gareth.
Congratulations. You get to be talked about now.
Yeah. Okay.
Gareth is for whatever reason decided to make a status update. Probably because he's butthurt about being criticized or something, but decided to make a status update saying that he's tired of seeing people do flowy moves and that it doesn't count for anything.
You know what? I read Max's comment last week, so congratulations, Max. You won last week. You gotta retrospectively congratulate him. And so now I'm gonna read Gareth's because it's awesome. All right. This so-called flow, where you spin around on shit and touching shit with your hands and feet, isn't parkour or free running or anything for that matter. I can take my grandma outside and teach her this in 20 minutes. There's nothing athletic about T at all.
T?
Yeah, he just forgot to put an I in it.
Oh, okay, cool. That was great delivery, by the way.
Thank you.
I really feel like Gareth was sitting here with me.
Hey, that's racist.
Yes, it is.
Oh, ouch. Okay. Fellow ginger friend. So, yeah, do you agree with his assessment of the so-called flow in parkour?
So I think you and I talk about movement choice a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, I think parkour is going to eventually branch off into so many different styles. And I think he's talking about kind of a slower style.
Yeah.
But what I hate is movement choice, or someone puts together a line where the movement choices combine a bunch of fast dynamic moves and then they slow down to fit through a thing, all slow like, or tack off a thing and call it tech. So on that level, when you're just making poor movement choices because you're not actually very critical of your own movement and you're putting together a bunch of moves that don't make sense, I agree. Okay. How about yourself?
My biggest issue is the term flow has come to mean something that doesn't actually describe what it is. That was so flow should basically mean like how well movements are connected together, right?
It exists in every other sport.
It exists in every single other sport. Flow, like the concept of flow, exists everywhere else. But for whatever reason, flow has come to mean doing like a coffee grinder on top of a log, or a wall, right?
It almost means if you're doing static moves.
It's single moves. It's single moves. And actually, like, this is one of the funny things about, so like at NAPC, when I was listening to like the commentary for Frosty, like Frosty kept saying like, oh, a little bit of flow here, but like if you really watch like what's happening there, it's just like it's a move that he doesn't know the name of, and it's not like a big move. It was just like some filler move that was just thrown into a line, and it wasn't the connection between this move and this move. It was just there was this move happened, a flow move, which was like coffee grinder or like back roll off of thing, to this move, right? But there was no connection between any of it really. And so yeah, that's my biggest issue, is that the term flow has come to mean what it is basically the opposite of. Yeah, flowy move. So like go over to here, do a move, and then like land, and then ha ha ha, go over here now, do a move, land, ha ha, oh, over here now, right? So that's what flow is now, which is super unfortunate because Foski is the real flow.
Yeah.
You know, like people who can actually make connections and have nice dynamic and actually increase speed too, right? So like flow, I like to think of as just being like preservation of momentum. So if at any
Flow
point,
like water.
like water,
Right? You're going. Oh, it's a stream. There's rocks in the stream,
Yeah.
but the water doesn't slow down. It goes.
Yeah, so for preservation of momentum, so that means you can be going very slow, but still maintain flow as long as you're preserving momentum. I would say like advanced flow, somebody who has advanced flow is able to maintain momentum while still going like very fast, right? So, but you can be fast and not have flow, and you can have flow and not be very fast, right? So I guess that's kind of like, it didn't really address anything that he said, but. But the point is like the terms are all mixed up. The semantics of parkour are all mixed up, and that's what I have a problem with. So yeah. Anyway.
It's just his use of what, because you know what he means, but it shouldn't be. The word flow should not be tarnished in such a way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Perhaps the moves he's speaking of could be. Maybe I think he's just talking about baby moves. Like, you know, I'm gonna do a little butt spin over this, or, you know, kick my leg over it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Like a lot of like the single rail or single structure flow where people keep returning to the same one, and like again, like it's not like that's a bad thing. If you're preserving your momentum while you're doing it, that's real flow.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like one move here, land, huh, one move here, land, you know, and you just keep going back to the same, that's not flow at all. You're just doing a bunch of moves.
You're doing slow moves.
You're doing slow moves.
Doing a bunch of slow moves that perhaps have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, with no connections. That's my issue. Is people not being critical enough to learn how to connect moves together. And you know, it's one thing if you're trying to connect moves that are really really difficult for you. It's fine, but you know, as long as you're trying. But it's another thing when you're just doing moves and you think that you're doing flow. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all I have to really say about it.
Yeah, and he's not being very specific on what he's talking about, but I do think there are some, and we don't have a name we don't have another name for these moves, and it might remain flow. The names for these types of moves, and we're talking about.
That's very unfortunate.
We're talking about, you know, vaults that become like tricky vaults, like stop lazy, and you know, spinning around on your hands and stuff like that. These are the flow moves, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very popular to call them flow, and as much as we hate it,
it's gonna be really hard to break out of that.
I think it's gonna be hard to break out of. But you know, maybe people will fight with us. But we don't have another name. See, until someone puts another name to those types of moves.
Well,
I think
there is another name,
clear,
but it's
because when he said flow, you knew what he was talking about, right? And I think it's pretty clear.
There is another name for it, but it's not PC.
Oh, what is it?
Bitch moves.
Hey. Did Jason Paul start that?
I think Jason Paul coined it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't Jason Paul, I definitely heard Kai say it once in like it was like the Airwhip documentary like a couple years ago. So it's not just us saying it. It's not just me saying it. So don't hate on me.
Say you were quoting.
I was quoting.
Yeah.
I didn't do quotation fingers though.
Uh-huh. But yeah, so some of those moves are hard. You know, some of them. I remember. I still can't do this move, and I want to learn it. But it's like So if this is like a vault or something, I'm gonna vault over. You kind of like reverse vault in, and then your legs go around, and then it's almost like pommel horse kind of thing, and then your legs basically dash out or lazy vault out.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
And it's probably under the and Jason Paul was probably one of the first guys I ever saw do that, and it's under the category of
not reverse vault, like a palm spin.
But it's like a reverse palm spinning kind of.
Reverse palm spin. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's cool.
Yeah, like he would probably categorize that as like one of his bitch moves, but it's really hard to do. That requires athleticism, Gareth.
Yeah, totally.
That is not something you can teach your grandma, Gareth.
Unless your grandma is like total badass.
Gareth's getting pretty good at handstand stuff though, so maybe Gareth can do it.
You know what I thought was really funny was Josh Dowie like tagged himself in the post.
Yes, no, that was so good. I love that. Yeah.
All right,
Oh, we're out of time.
we're out of time.
Great attitude though, Josh.
Oh yeah, it's good to make fun of yourself sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. I felt like today was a better episode
Yeah.
than
better than
last week. We did not. We kind of walked away with a bad taste in our mouth from last week's episode, but we hadn't done one in a couple weeks, so.
It's ring rust.
Oh man, I'm still. Wow.
You good?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in again, as always. And as always, if you like this show, if you like to see it keep going, please share it on social media. It's the only way anyone's gonna watch it. So.
And crowdfund us on Patreon.
Nope.
We don't have Patreon. Never mind. Don't do that.
Okay. See you guys next week. Bing.